So the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a beast of a phone. It's a beast of a camera, complete with Dolby Vision HDR, 10-bit color, 3 focal lengths on the back, incredible low light performance for a phone. It even has sensor shift stabilization on the wide lens. Like, what? But what if you wanted to harness all that power and take it to, oh, I don't know, the next level? Well, that's exactly what I set out to do. I give you the iPhone 12 Pro Max, rigged to the max. Let's break it down, shall we? First, let's talk about this rig. This is the universal mobile phone rig sent to me by SmallRig. It has tons of quarter 20 threads all over it, and everything about it is customizable or adjustable. You have adjustable handles on the side, a top handle, and there are even cold shoe mounts on top of the frame. So this rig makes it super easy to get incredibly stable shots, and you can get really creative with that top handle, which is one of the main reasons I requested this. On top, we have an old, like really old monitor from iCan, but it gets the job done. I have it set up running LPE6 batteries, and I have that attached to the rig using a simple ball head. The monitor is connected to the phone via HDMI through a standard Apple HDMI adapter, and with that adapter, you're able to plug the phone in to power through, the standard wall outlet, or in this case, I have a small battery velcroed to the front of the rig so that I have additional power and additional battery life for the phone. Not something you're probably gonna need. The phone is pretty robust when it comes to power, but you have that option. And the point of the monitor is, again, so I can use the top handle to get low shots and I can still see what's in the frame. I also can spin the monitor around and frame a shot of myself utilizing those back 3 lenses. So because we're using the lightning port for that HDMI monitor, and because you can't stack lightning adapters, we're actually recording our audio separately. There are a lot of different ways you can do that, but today we're going to be using a Sennheiser wireless mic going into an old Zoom H1 recorder. So recording audio separately or to system like this, you're not gonna be able to easily edit this in your phone, so it's gonna have to come out onto a computer and you're gonna have to sync the audio and video in post. And if you're wondering how to do that, well, that's gonna have to wait for another video. Now, if you want to record audio straight into the phone, you have a lot of options here as well. Using the Filmmaking Pro app, for instance, which I'll get into more in a minute, you can actually use an external monitor and record using a Bluetooth headset, but generally speaking, your audio quality isn't going to be that great. If you want to use a professional mic option, you're going to need something with a lightning connector already built in, or you're going to need a lightning adapter paired with a 3.5mm mic adapter to make your microphone work with your phone. But back to our rig. On the camera itself, we have a clip-on variable ND filter, which we'll get into later. And on the side here, we have an Aperture MX LED light. Now it's on this ridiculous arm just because if I'm gonna use it, I don't want it right over the camera lens. I want it off to the side so that the light doesn't look super flat. Last but certainly not least, I have everything sitting on a GorillaPod. But when I'm out shooting with this thing, especially when I'm getting those super low shots, I'm not going to have that on. But it is worth noting that you could put this whole thing on a tripod thanks to those quarter 20 threads on the bottom of the rig. So now let's switch over to the phone and talk manual control. Because here's the thing. Under the right lighting conditions, the footage straight out of the iPhone looks great. But if you want some manual control so that you can get more cinematic footage, you're gonna need an app for that. In this case, I'm using Filmmaking Pro, one of our sponsors for this video. Filmmaking Pro allows you to take full advantage of your phone's camera with things like white balance, ISO and shutter speed control, and even adds advanced monitoring options like false color and zebras to help you make sure you're exposing your footage correctly. You can even crank up your bit rate. So I'm actually going to set this thing up for daylight because I'm about to head outside, Set the shutter to 48 and our ISO as low as it'll go. And let's have some fun and set the crop to 2.2 to 1. Let's do 4K and extreme bitrate. And lastly, we're gonna make sure our frame rate is set to 24. So because we have our exposure set manually, everything is gonna be blown out when we go outside. To compensate for that, we're going to need that variable ND filter I mentioned earlier. But enough talk, time to field test this sucker. So for all of my test footage, I pretty much stuck with the wide lens. It's the one with the IBIS or sensor shift stabilization. Not only that, but the footage just looks better in general. The ND filter I have is also kind of tricky to move between lenses, so you may be better off looking at some of the phone cases and filters from Moment or Polar Pro. All right, so for these tests, I'm actually gonna be shooting a bunch of slow motion stuff. So I'm gonna record some in 120 and some in 240 frames. And I'm gonna shoot some 4K 60 and just slow that down in post. So let's take a look. So this is a setup, just one light, and the camera out of the box isn't gonna do a good job of exposing this scene. Trying it myself, it tried to bring up a lot of the stuff in the back, a lot of the blacks. Every once in a while, the highlights on my face would be blown out, which, you know, with the 10-bit HDR, you could maybe bring some of those back. But using the third-party app makes a lot more sense in this case. Also, I'm recording my audio separately so that you can see an example of what it's like after it's synced. Now, I know a lot of you are out there and you're like, it's a freaking phone, chill. But hey, what's wrong with having a little fun? Look, when you're in the video production world and someone comes out with an HDR 10-bit capable phone, you're gonna wanna put it through its paces. Well, at least in my case. And just wait, some Netflix show is gonna come out and be like, oh yeah, we totally shot that entire episode on an iPhone 12 Pro. They shot an entire episode of House on a 5D Mark II back in the day, so I wouldn't put it past anyone. But that's pretty much it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful or entertaining in any way, shape, or form, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to learn more about the built-in photo and video features of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I'll have that video out soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.